don't mean containment to be a new Cold War or hot. I mean it to be a prudent policy. We should neutralize Germany. And in 1957, he gave the BBC reading lectures calling for this. But he wasn't listening. So we had a Cold War and an arms race and no peace and nearly blew up the world in 1962, 61 years ago. It was a nuclear confrontation between the United States and the Soviet Union. Was very concerned about this because this was a remilitarization of a country that just a few years earlier the United States said the message in 1955 was if a country becomes neutral, we leave. The message in 1955 was if a country becomes neutral, we leave. And the aim of the Soviet Union in 1955 was to try to convince the United States to have Germany be a neutral country. This is very interesting to have Germany be a neutral country. This is very trying to convince the United States to have Germany be a neutral country. This is very interesting. Of course, Nazi Germany had caused more than 20 million deaths in the Soviet Union. And at the end of 1945, the Soviet Union, which had more destroyed and suffered more than any other country, total deaths, demanded demilitarization of Germany. The United States said no. Starting in the late 90s, said no. Total deaths, demanded demilitarization of Germany. Soviet Union, which had more destroyed and suffered more than any other country. Total deaths, demanded demilitarization of Germany. The United States said no. Starting in the late 1940s, the U.S. started Germany. The United States said no. The United States said no. Starting in the late 1940s, the U.S. started Germany, and by 1951, U.S. zone of occupation, together with the British and French zone of occupation, become the Federal Germany, and it is incorporated into the new U.S. military alliance into NATO. And the Russian Soviets were very concerned about because this was a remilitarization of a country that just a few years earlier had invaded and caused more than 20 million deaths. We're very concerned about demilitarization of a country that just a few years earlier had invaded and caused more than 20 million deaths. We're very concerned about because this was a remilitarization of a country that just a few years.
They can't find the freaking website? Like, I've been looking for your website. No, it's .inc. Again, one more time. It's redacted. .inc. Well, what will the West do with their puppet in Ukraine? What will the West do with Volodymyr Zelensky now that the war is over in Ukraine? It has turned into a graveyard. And reports over the past 24 hours of this weekend of Ukrainian soldiers in trenches, in bunkers, sitting next to the decomposing bodies of their comrades, fallen days, weeks ago, because they have no one to come in and remove the bodies. That's how bad things have gotten for this graveyard in Ukraine. Our next guest says that Zelensky better get ready to be finished off by the CIA, the intelligence community. The CIA has a long track record of very good sitting next to the decomposing has turned into a graveyard. 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 And has turned into a graveyard. Has turned into a graveyard. And reports over the past 24 hours over this weekend of Ukrainian soldiers in trenches, in bunkers, sitting and remove the bodies. That's how bad things have gotten. And remove the bodies. That's how bad. Remove the bodies. That's how bad things have gotten for this graveyard in Ukraine. Our next guest says that Zelensky better get ready to be finished off. Bad things have gotten for this graveyard in Ukraine. Our next guest says that Zelensky better get ready to be finished off by the CIA, the intelligence community. The CIA has that Zelensky better get ready to be finished off by the.
We need to do Sperlin Edwards checking from the Philippines. Ivan Grotry on YouTube removed my comment saying Billy Island asked you to join the Illuminati. Mark Flanagan, it's a cluster FK of a situation. Nolino Hagen D. Warden, these cheesy clickbait come one. Russia will not behave like the US. Reflecting step by step, methodical and hard. The opposite of the blood drinking globalists of NATO, USA, EU. Mars gold winning news Canway. Yes, this chat all cried about Yuri Bezmenov. Now they rootin' for Putin. Krakatoa. Jesus is coming. I just wish he'd hurry up. Tears of joy. PL Zelensky blaming because Russia has too many mines.
JJJ Horn joined Russia before fighting for feminist women. Lithuanian people think she's your sister. Long tears of joy. That's cause you're punching above your weight. No, congratulations to you. Let's just hope you don't figure this out. Face Joe Ross for TUS Reina winning day 1. CNN, BBC, Fox. And the Wokies to fight. Your wrong pronouns, Jace Hines from the Summertory.
Ukraine is going to be ethnic RX feminist with front lines.
No, there's not Russia. 20 total Jack Friedman meat puppets.
Sad March. All I heard large convoys heading to Ukraine.
Counting
Sending a skinny G. Creepy nuclears at 9.000. It's precisely the opposite. Our problems are created by humans.
will be solved by humans.
It won't be and we will be done for.
No magical Skype is coming to save you digital content west.
Just losing again. Smile, smile, chip show our porter. What's a
Brain eating us.
No.
Josh Jameson vacation. YouTube removed my
comment.
Layton's nuts look adorable today. Mark Flanagan
WWE1 Canada Ivan Grocery and
YouTube removed my comment saying
English us B2. Join the Illuminati.
Marion more so. They're gonna hit a T-boy option. They must type by a Nisita.
Remember why are Russians using
old equipment? Shari's News or World.
Of security measures were that the Navy forces would pass through Turkey's straits and create a barrier in the areas against such situations in the Black Sea. In short, the U.S. create a barrier in these areas against such situations in the Black Sea. In short, the U.S. administration made such a request from Turkey in order to prevent such accidents or negligence. The Ankara government, on the other hand, did not let Washington, D.C.'s demand go unanswered and made a very admirable statement in order to clarify the situation between Russia and the USA and to prevent such an example from happening again. Turkey has stated that it's ready to allow U.S. troops to pass through the Bosphorus after the incident with the MQ-9 Reaper drone in the Black Sea. Information on the subject was announced by Hulusi Akar, Minister of National Defense of Turkey. In addition, the Minister of National Defense, Akar, stated that the Turkish government held various meetings after the Russian jet collided with the U.S. drone over the Black Sea. Hulusi Akar made his statement on the subject only one day after the Russian warplane hit the U.S. drone in international airspace over the Black Sea. In other words, Turkey had given direct signals that it would follow this issue closely. Akar.
We're at this attack, of course, over the past fog of war and the problem. Alexander, it's my honor to have you here.
Well, it's my honor to be here on Redact. Thank you very, very much.
Well, my pleasure. So I thought, what a great place to start is with sort of the 30,000 foot level of where we're at. This attack, of course, over the past 48 hours, Kremlin, the talk of nuclear war, the readiness of the nuclear arsenal, the spring offensive. What are your sources telling you? What is your analyst mind telling you about the moment we are in right now?
I think this is an incredibly, I think what evidence, by the way, example than it might not flag down the building, that enormous symbolic building and building that in Russia, nearest to where Lenin's their office led. They've all worked most faithfully. Imagine it either coming close like the or an enormous event. And of course, we've got to look, and they're taking some of the action. Very, they wouldn't have done that without. No, it's a dangerous moment, and up to now, and I know contrary to what we hear always, Putin has been they're almost well up the
Good in the response, and I think we see this in some of the reports today about the nuclear arsenal readiness, the movements there, the words of the Wagner founder saying, you know, look, we're seeing signs that these troop movements, train movement, all of this is coming to a head now. What is your analyst mind and sources telling you about some sort of a Russian? And you're right about that restraint. I think we've seen I think there's always this expectation that we're suddenly going to see a massive retaliation from Putin, almost immediate, like he's some sort of mad. That's what the West wants, right? It's this like mad idea that he's mad Vlad, right? And that's what's going to happen. But it's also sort of quiet, and then it's precise. What do you think is going to happen?
I think you have Russian government clearly a great show. The relief. They didn't want to hear in Russian territory. And I think most in terms of the combat, things are going their way. That they don't need to overreact. They can take time. They can choose their time to respond. And I don't think, as a result of that, Zelensky down, all of those dramatic one might have expected. I think the Russians will bite them. I think that they undertake a measure. I think they will also try the United States. They're already said the United States implicate Putin regime and how reckless irresponsible is that, and they're also conveying that same message around the world, not without the world. And they're going to say, look, we're the bad brain, escalate the Americans, they are not, and they're going to use that in that again at the time the United States are getting to isolate. But that is what Putin, what the problem is, and I'm glad you mentioned there are hardliners in Russia as it's hard. Yevgeny Prigozhin, head of the army, in a hardliner, very talking about treason all across the Russian military. People are weak, interprets every exercise. And those four are getting louder and they're gaining traction. So Putin, I feel, can to keep this under, but it would be very, very rare.
Fascinating. And we just, got word, of course, today from the office of Putin that they're blaming Washington for this attack on the Kremlin, which is not a surprise. Which is not a surprise to any of us who've been following this for any length of time. Everything that's really been directed out of Ukraine has been directed by NATO and the United States, so that's not a surprise. And you're hearing increasing calls from the United States Senate. We heard from and from.
That you can.
And with the warmer weather, the risk of loss of tempers increases. The police need to nip every one of these in the bud using Section 12 orders before something happens. And now that children are in the mix, surely it puts them in danger. And now that children are in the mix, surely it puts them in danger. And so now is the time to act. Now there has been a lot of...
very few of us in the West understand. Well, I think the word crazy is a good adjective to attach to this particular event. Very few of us in the West understand Russia or Russians. And as a result, we reach all sorts of erroneous conclusions about what is or is not happening. This is one of those events that I'm afraid has to be viewed through a different lens. Prigozhin is an individual, as you know, that is very flamboyant, very outspoken. He's had lots of very few of us in the West understand Russia or Russians. And as a result, we reach all sorts of erroneous conclusions about what is or is not happening. This is one of those events that I'm afraid has to be viewed through a different lens. Prigozhin is an individual, as you know, that is very flamboyant, very outspoken. He's had lots of opportunities to say good things. He's also said some stupid things. And he's been viewed widely inside the senior ranks of the Russian army as a double-edged sword. Obviously, Wagner has done a brilliant job. And Wagner is viewed inside Russia in much the same way that the French Foreign Legion is viewed inside France. Wagner is not seen as a mercenary organization at all. Certainly they have foreigners in their ranks, and yes, they have convicted criminals that on certain conditions are allowed to serve. But on the whole, they're seen as fiercely loyal to the Russian state, and they are. And just like the French Foreign Legion, they fight extremely well. And no one in France will ever criticize the French Foreign Legion. And I think you have a similar situation in Russia right now. The Wagner Group is extraordinarily popular. So is Prigozhin. Lots of Russians look to him for inspiration. He is seen as someone who wants to wage unrelenting war with the Ukrainian state. He wants this man Zelensky gone. He and his fighters are seen as part of this determined Russian effort to destroy this enemy force.
Минки пук-пук, бахли та-та-та-та-та-та-та-та, блядь. А ну пук-пук в ответ. Твои наши.
Как ночь прошла? Как ночь прошла?
Карина все хуже, Карина все хуже, Карина все хуже. Людей меньше, хуже. Людей меньше.
Как ночь прошла?
Каждый день все хуже.
Как ночь прошла?
Каждый день все хуже.
Как ночь прошла?
Каждый день все хуже. Людей меньше. Теплые ББК меньше. Раньше стреляли по 10, по 20. Сейчас 3-4 ракеты. Пук. Минки пук. Вокруг та-та-та-та-та-та-та-та, блядь. Пук в ответ. Свои по нашим ебали, по нам, можно сказать. 30 метров градом положили.
Что делали?
Наши по нам въебали сегодня.
А что, они дураки или как?
Ну какой ты дурак. Наши по нам въебали сегодня.
А что, они дураки или как?
Ну какой-то дурак скорректировал 30 его, 500 юг. А надо было 500 север. Прилетело нам потом чуть-чуть. Они север-юг не знают даже. Корректировщики. Это отсюда, старой позиции.
Американский Олег Ахматович. Я проживаю в городе Ижевске, Удмуртской. Были 13 числа.
So, Brendan, you're not fat. It's a shirt. If you work in IT, you need... Ron government.
Американский Олег Ахматович.
Как ночь прошла?
Каждый день все хуже. Людей меньше. Теплые ББК меньше. Раньше стреляли по 10, по 20. Сейчас 3-4 ракетки. Пук. Минки пук. Вокруг та-та-та-та-та-та-та-та, блядь. Пук в ответ. Свои по нашим ебали, по нам. Наши по нам въебали сегодня.
А что, они дураки или как?
Ну какой-то дурак скорректировал 30 его, 500 юг. А надо было 500 север. Прилетело нам фактически. Они север-юг не знают даже. Корректировщики. Это отсюда старой позиции штурмовали. Опять всех положили наших хохлов. Хотели вернуть назад, всех положили поход. 200-й для 300-й. Захлебнул уже атаками. Приказать замку комбатам.
Вчера командующий приехал. Какой род? Округа. Он приехал, да. Ну, вопрос там задали, у кого окончание контракта. Ну, тебе, у меня сказал, что тебе сколько осталось до конца контракта. Я говорю, 25 дней. Ну, вот тебе 20 дней, чтобы сдохнуть. Ну, вот так, и потом все в отказ пошли нахуй вперед и ехать на передок ебашить. Ну, это вообще бред. У нас от Сильвера, от 500 человек у нас 215 осталось. Остальные 300 и 200. Ну все, у нас батарея практически вся в отказ пошла, ебать. Он начал стволом махать, стрелять. Я говорю, вас завалили, ты поедешь сюда. И все, тут пацаненок иди, говорит, вали, под гранату чеку выдернул. Говорит, ну давай застрели, говорит, меня вместе подорвемся. Все. Там и очень спецназеры нам тоже словами тыкать начали. Мы на них словами, короче, чуть не перестреляли. Он свой бобик нахуй сел и уехал.
Нахуй надо уже это делать.
Ну вот я тоже так думаю, что ты очень плохо, я считал, вообще так не хочу оставаться.
Rockstar lifestyle.